Hey, we're talking about the future of autonomous robots. Up next on Geek Gotta Say.
Do not attempt to adjust your YouTube video. We control the stream.
And welcome back to Geek Gotta Say. It's Saturday and we're here again. It's been a while since we've been
Yeah,
2
we've
weeks.
been kind of doing it every other week.
Trying to see how that goes.
But Vince is bugging me because he's like, "Oh, our views are tapering since we're not being consistent." So I'm like, I guess.
We're consistent, but not consistent the way people want us to be consistent.
I don't know. I don't understand any of this YouTube stuff. So I'm like, I don't know if we talk about good stuff. Sometimes I feel like we talk about too much stuff. I don't know. I don't understand it. I'm gonna let Vincent decide.
Well, today we're talking about autonomous robots. And,
oh, you said it right this time.
Yeah, I said it right this time.
Autonomous. We're talking about scary robots from Tesla, who seems to have been watching iRobot too much because now I'm scared. Vincent actually showed me the advertisement for this robot. Well, it's not necessarily an advertisement. It's just kind of like, hey, check it out. This is what's happening or whatever with this robot. And I'm watching it. I'm super impressed. But that's all I can think in my head the whole time is, this seriously, it looks like the robots from iRobot. They're going to come and kill us. Like, we're going to be dead very soon. It's going to be a thing. Like, I don't know what to tell anybody except be scared, run for your lives. I'm sure that's probably not what their thought process was to frighten everybody. But maybe it was. Maybe they were like, we'll create this robots. It'll be like a little dig if anybody's like geek enough or nerdy enough or like, just like us or something, they'll know that this is like the scary robot from iRobot. What I did like about it that I thought was really interesting was to see how they've done a really good job comparing human anatomy and how human anatomy really works geometrically, three-dimensionally, and they've been applying those concepts to the robot.
Well, we got the first one in March of 2023.
I have no idea, but
which was Bumblebee. And then we got the next generation, which was the Optimus Generation 1 in December of 2023. And now we have Generation 2.
So that's actually, if you think about it, when you think about
it's quick.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Those generations have gone quick.
When you think about as far as research and development goes, to have gone just from March to December and December to now.
And then come this December, we're going to have Optimus Generation 3.
Yeah, so that's a crazy short amount of time. I think I was about to say a crazy amount of time, but if you say that, people might think, oh, that's an exceptionally long amount of time. But when you're talking about research and development for something, especially something as intricate as this, that requires a neural net, it requires sensors, it requires the mechanics to move properly. They had to deal with.
If you haven't seen it, we do have one of our first clips. Go ahead and bring that up.
Which one? One.
So that we're getting close. We're getting close
so
to what
yeah.
it should be.
I mean, I thought that wasn't really impressive when you're watching it because you're seeing how it's starting to get more of that, like when it walks, like it has more of those like hip flexors. Obviously, it doesn't have quite the same movement that we do yet, but I definitely feel like it. There are times when you're watching it that it feels like you're watching a person in a robot suit.
Yeah.
It's very close.
When it's not walking.
Well, even when it was doing the squats. I mean, yeah, when it's not walking.
Yeah.
But people mimic that robot walk and stuff, especially, you know, in the hip hop realm and everything like that.
I don't know, but if you're doing
that.
the squats right, like perfectly, it should look like that.
Well, if a person's doing them perfectly, it looks like the way the robot did it. Yeah. And the other thing that I don't know if it showed in this video. No, I think it did, that they've reduced the weight on it. So that's got to be some of what's helping with the articulation, because obviously the heavier it is to move, the harder it's going to be for the parts to move. I mean, that's even true in us humans, right? The heavier we are, the more our back hurts and the harder it is for our joints to move. One of the things that I know, because I've been watching robotics for a while, not intensively, but enough to, you know, have a general idea, is I'm really impressed with the manipulation of the objects, because I know that was one that when they started with just the hand a long time ago, that was one of the ones that they had a really hard time with, was to get those sensors right to be able to detect what's the correct pressure point. Because, yeah, you can feed it a pressure point, but
if you're doing it autonomous, it has to be done real time. So it has to, those sensors have to have that response with it, so it doesn't.
Well, yeah, and you never know, because you can say, okay, you know, let's say you only have, you know, 1/3 of a pound of pressure per square inch, or whatever it is, right? Anytime there's an egg. Well, eggs are different, right? Invariably, everything is slightly different, right? So you put that pressure on the majority of eggs, fine, no problem. But there's going to be those one or two that you pick up and it's going to break it.
Have a weaker shell.
Yeah. Or it's already going to have a crack that the robot doesn't see or whatever. So to get those sensors to the point where it can feel that, and let's say, this is maybe going to creep people out, but let's say we get to that futuristic future where this robot is your kid's nanny or something.
Right.
Or they're taking care of the baby at night so you can sleep.
And that's the plan for the next generation, to be able to be at that level.
Right. So, of course, you don't want to say, okay, this is what PSI you can use on a baby.
Right.
You need it to have those sensors so that it can feel the movement, or it can feel the baby wiggle or whatever, so the baby's not dropping on the floor out of its grip, or if it's wiggling too much, it's not gripping it too hard.
Right.
I feel like we would, if we wanted to do those types of tasks, we probably still have a bit of a ways to go. I would think maybe they're working towards that, because let's say, okay, let's not even say in a human capacity, right? They're not even interacting with humans yet. But let's say you're having them do like medical research and stuff, and they're moving glass, because in medical research, it's a lot of glass stuff, you know, and they're using the pipettes, and they're, you know, taking the blood samples or whatever, and they've got infectious diseases, because we have that. I've worked in an infectious disease lab, so I know for a fact that we have that. So if they can't sense it and they can't move it properly, now you're letting all of these infectious diseases out when you've tried to automate this process, right? So I feel like we need to be extremely careful with that sensor array before we put it into any of those sensitive type jobs. Can it maybe sweep my floor? Sure. Because what if it cracks my broom? Okay. I'll go buy a new one, $5 or whatever it is. Cracks a vial full of infectious disease, cracks a baby. It's a different concept.
Yeah.
So do you think that these are still going to be more for like a corporation type, or are they trying to get it to be more of like a household?
This is more of a household. It can be used for both, but definitely used for household.
Have they said what they foresee it being used for in the household?
Well, they talked about, Elon Musk, because this is Tesla, so Elon
Right.
Musk said, like, they can be like teachers and be nannies in your home, or help you clean up around the house, do things like that. So anything repetitive that we do often that we don't feel like doing anymore, these robots can do.
I mean, in all actuality, I don't hate the idea of it. I would love to be, the sky is falling. And it is it still freaks me out a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I think I've watched too many movies.
At that point, we can buy one and they can run the producer chair.
Run the producer chair.
That would be kind of cool.
They could. And I'm getting older. I'm tired. People have no idea how hard it is to be an educator and how exhausting it is. I don't know that I want them to take over my teaching degree and take over my classroom, because I think there's a certain level of care and relationship building and human to human interaction that you need in the teaching capacity. I could see them being used in the schools for children that are having issues where they're like throwing the desks and beating up the kids. And
But here's the thing, also with how AI is learning, it can go through and it can recognize micro expressions now. So it can understand kids better and respond to kids.
I still just don't think it's the same as human to human.
But it's close. It's really close.
I just don't think I don't think, unless you've been, and maybe the newest generations, like if they have been raised their whole life with it. But I think like my high school kids or even the middle school kids, if you try to bring in a robot to them, they're not going to connect to it.
Well, not at first, no.
So they're not gonna buy in. Like, of course, obviously, if they have parents that want them to have good grades and stuff, and this is their teacher, and their teacher's like, do this assignment, you get a good grade or whatever,
But 10 years down the road, things may be very different.
I mean, potentially, it could be.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on it being used in households. I could definitely see, before it kills me in the night and takes over my home and has a relationship with my Alexa, I could see it being very useful. Cleaning the toilet. And I hate, this is so weird. But I think I've watched, on the one spectrum, I've watched too many iRobot-esque type movies, and then on the other spectrum, I've watched too many AI bicentennial type movies, right?
Right.
So there is going to be a part of me that feels bad having this robot do all my chores and not get to do anything fun, right? But would I love for it to clean my bathrooms? Would I love for it to sweep and mop my house? Would I love for it to do my laundry and fold it and put it away? Would I love for it to make my bed? Would I love for it to do my dishes? Would I love for it to cook for me unless I feel up to cooking? Yeah. Yeah, I would love for it to do all of those things. One of the things that I know that Americans complain about is we spend so much time at our work, and then we come home and we have so much work to do in our homes that the little time we have for those human joys,
Right.
right? Our own painting, our own traveling, our own whatever, we don't get as much time to do that. Or I love my dog to death. You've seen him on the show before, but he's aggressive. So there's very few people that can watch him if we want to go on a trip. And my mom is 75. She's getting too old to watch him.
Right.
right? And you know, because he's aggressive and he has anxiety and fear, I don't really feel comfortable boarding him, which is an exorbitant amount, an expense, right? But if I've spent $30,000 on a robot,
Yeah, because they're going for about 20 to 30,000 for this robot.
yeah, which is cheaper than a car. If I use it to clean my home every day or every week or whatever, right? And I would have had a maid anyway come in once a month. And I'm getting my time back so that I can do some of my preferred activities. Yeah, it's definitely worth 30,000 to me. Am I going to feel bad sometimes that I'm making it do all my chores? Yeah, probably. Maybe I could teach it if it has AI. Like maybe I could be like, "Hey, what kind of music do you want to listen to while you do all my chores?" I don't know. What do you think about it being in the household?
I don't think I have a problem with that. I think ever since I saw Star Wars, I wanted to see if we can get to that point, and we're almost like the movement is already past that point.
Like a 3PO? Is that what
Yeah.
you're thinking of?
The movement is already past that point of what this robot can do. And with this Generation 2, it doesn't even go upstairs. It's just flat terrain. With Generation 3, it's going to be able to go upstairs. So that's going to be, that'll be another plus, especially for like older people, or if like you don't, or if you, instead of paying like a home healthcare worker, you can have one of these robots come in and help you that way as well when you're older. Or if you're having issues and need help.
Yeah, if you had some kind of illness or whatever. So here's the thing that I was thinking. So you're talking about that, right? You're talking about, okay, it could take over for home health aides. It could take over for dog groomers and boarders. And once it knows how to do chores, now you're like a hotel company, and you can buy a mini fleet of them, and they can clean all the rooms and do all the laundry because it's cheaper than somebody's salary in healthcare.
You can have one in every room, and they can be like your butler, or you could like send
At least
your
one per
profile.
floor, right?
You can send your profile to that robot. Your robot's profile to that robot, and then it'll be like your robot that you've trained.
Yeah.
Because it's trained. Whatever you get is going to be trained. The AI responds to you.
Right, because it's just like
It's
a
gonna
chat
be.
GPT
It's gonna be like
or an Alexa
an
or something
Alexa.
like that, right? The more you interact with it, the more it gets to know what
gets
your
to know
preferences
you.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that comes with a conundrum of what do we do with the humans who were performing those jobs? Because at some point, the more we automate these jobs, the less jobs we have, and we already have a very delicate balance of the economy, right?
Right.
So, I mean, what do we do? Because let's say they can teach. Now they can teach. They can clean my house. Well, what do you need me for? So now you and I are out $60,000 a year. Okay, the other skill I have is I can write curriculum. Guess what? So can AI. Those of us who are with the times, we're already starting to use it to write curriculum. Obviously, do we have to adjust it? Right? There's a
Society just needs to change at that point. And it becomes something that people don't like to hear is a socialist kind of thing.
Well, either of that, or I think that we need to go, because there was a time, like in the 40s and the 50s, where you could live on a one-person income. Like you could live well. Like the middle class was a one-person, the dad went out, he worked, mom stayed home, right? So I could see. I mean, we would have to reduce stuff, right? Apartments.
Yeah, but
couldn't
we
be
haven't
as-
seen that in
Yeah,
years
but we
and
may
years
have
and
to go back
years.
to that. We may have to find a way to balance it back down to that.
Yeah.
Or
But in that case, then you would like, oh, well, maybe I learned how to repair robots, or maybe I learned how to install the wall charger for the robots.
I know, but how much can that? And then why can't you get a robot to do? Those are menial jobs that a robot could do.
Well, eventually, it come down to the point where we don't need humans to do those types of jobs anymore.
I know. So then what do we do with the economy and people's livelihoods? And we've got to figure something out. That's something we're going to have to figure out.
Then it comes to be just like what is in a Wall-E. Everything's just a socialist society. You're just sitting around doing nothing, or going on vacations, or exploring.
I think that's where.
It's hard to understand because we've never experienced that.
Right, and I think that's where people are going to
seen it,
freak out.
We've understood it through like Star Trek, because that's how Earth is then in Star Trek.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is right now, space travel is not something that's viable for people, right? We don't live long enough to go the distances, right?
Right now.
And we don't have the technology to go at a speed that doesn't either obliterate our bodies or or get us there in a time that we're not dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the journey. So having these robots, which is probably something that Elon Musk and his company is thinking about because they're tied to that space exploration, right? So having these robots to send up to space, to send on a mission to Mars, to send on missions further out, to be able to pick up samples, to see planets, to get further than we can see.
Well, they can. Here's the thing. Elon can send out all those robots to Mars, build a whole city, and you're done. You and then you wait for the humans to come.
Or build a Mars like Disneyland so that he can monopolize on it and charge people a ton of money. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, if he had some kind of, like, I don't know, Disneyland-esque, science, STEM-esque thing on the moon and on Mars, I'd go.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go. I mean, we pay so much for the attractions here. I can't go if it's $50,000, per person. But if he gets it to a quasi-reasonable cost, if you're looking at like $5,000 a person, maybe even 10, I might take out a loan to go do something like that just to get the chance to travel into space.
Mm-hmm.
Are there going to be people who don't want to? Sure, there are people who don't want to travel here on Earth.
Yeah. That don't want to travel outside of their neighborhood.
Yeah. But to travel to those places.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing we've known for a long time since, and Stephen Hawking brought it up, is if we want people to be able to go further out into space, as of now, with the technology that we have, we're going to have a very large vessel to take people. We're going to be able to need to basically procreate on the voyage because the initial human population that leaves is not going to be there.
Well, whatever happened to the EM drive? We talked about that.
God, we talked about that years ago.
Years ago.
Yeah.
And it's nowhere. It's like
Yeah, you can't even.
you don't even. You can barely research it anymore.
I don't know if that's just something that was no longer viable or. I've been really terrible. I kind of.
But it wasn't even said that this isn't viable. We've cut it.
Yeah.
That was never said.
Well, maybe
Or did we figure it out and somebody's already going out there and doing that?
or did Elon name his company Tesla because he wants to be the reverse of the original Tesla, and he wants to bury other people's ideas so his ideas can come to the forefront instead of other people burying his ideas and getting their ideas to the forefront.
You mean like all the rest of them did to Tesla way
That's what
back
I
when?
mean.
Yeah.
He wants to be the he wants to be the reverse Tesla. So he took Tesla's name so that he could then go exact his revenge in Tesla's honor.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's the reincarnation of
Reincarnation of Tesla.
actual Tesla. And he's taking all of these good ideas and he's squashing them so that he can come out with his own good idea. It's his
we
revenge.
still use his alternating current, which is better than DC.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Because it travels further.
I mean, it's funny that the name Tesla may continue to become synonymous with, these human inventions. But anyways, back to the robots. We derailed way off the robots. I don't know if you have the queue up here, but one of the things that we had looked at that you showed me was the way that they're working out the neural net, which is something that I know that we had seen like with the Google cars and stuff that they're working on for the self-driving cars, is that recognition and that understanding of things that are in the layout around it. Whereas during,
Go ahead. Yeah,
do you
we're
have
bringing
that?
his queue up too.
Okay, because that was really awesome.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so I think that if you're paying attention, it does say that it's using the feedback from several robots. So this, I think, again, when I initially see it, it takes me to like the Terminator and that kind of stuff. Is Matrix, is they have a hive mind, right? Because they're sending signals, which I'm assuming Alexa does too, right? And other AI generators, right? It's a hive mind. Like they're the way for them to grow is to get all of this data from all of these other sources, right? So you're getting this hive mind of robots that is like this robot walked this hall, this corridor, this area of the building, so it's mapped it. Then this other robot has walked this hall, this area, these rooms of this part of the building, and so on and so forth. Then all of their data comes into a combined, I don't know, cloud or something. I'm not super tech about something to that effect.
And then it knows, and then that robot knows where everything is, even though it's never been there.
Right. And so then they put it all together, and now you have a robot layout of a map, and so now the robot can go to any area that any of the other robots have been to, and it knows how to navigate it.
Right.
So I think, again, initially, that sounds very scary.
Well, I mean, it's what happens with like Google Maps.
Right.
It's exactly what happens with Google Maps.
And it's what's gonna have to happen and it's what is already happening for the self-driving cars.
Right. Because I think they're releasing. Tesla's trying to release a lot right now. They're trying to do like the robo-taxi, which is like a completely autonomous driving experience. There's no steering wheel or joystick or anything.
What movie is that like?
The
one with Sylvester Stallone, right?
Was it Sylvester Stallone?
And Sandra Bullock, is that the one where they...
Yeah, Demolition Man.
Maybe, yeah. Where they get in and it just like takes them places. And then they listen to the old-timey music and it's the jingles from our commercials, which is funny. I'm telling you, we've watched too many movies. Well, and that... and I know that's one of the things that they worry about for the self-driving cars is you never know what another driver is going to do, right? That's your biggest concern is, and I've seen it in your Subaru now, is the car will tell you dee, 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 if something's getting within a closeness.
Yeah.
I don't know how fast it can react if somebody moves in.
It's pretty quick.
It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think computer generated, it's going to be pretty quick. But like you have, okay, so again, I'm going to go back to this home thing and this, I'm big on kids and babies and stuff like that. So your robot is cleaning your house, your baby is crawling around or your toddler is toddling or whatever. I mean, you definitely need for it to have that reaction time. You need for it to have that awareness of its surroundings so that all of a sudden it's, moving its legs and the baby gets in between its legs or something, or your dog or your cat or your rabbit or whatever. You don't want it to step on and squish. Although it's not like really picking its legs up and stuff. It's more of a shuffle at this point.
Right.
But you still, it's a big, heavy machine. So you want it to have that spatial awareness. So it's not knocking down the old person that you're having it be the home health care aid for. You're not having it, step on the baby that you're having it watch, or that's just roaming around your house while it's doing chores. So you definitely need for it to have, you don't want it to walk through one of your walls in your house because it's a big, heavy machine.
Well, by the third one, it's not going to be as heavy. They're going to take out a lot of the metal and make it plastic because there's no need for metal.
The metal. And then that begs
they can use like carbon fiber.
Yeah. And then that begs the question of, because this was one of the job replacements that you were saying earlier, is, what's the longevity of something like this? I've paid $30,000 for this robot. How long should I expect it to last, right? Before it needs something. And obviously, because it's run through the computer, just like our phones or anything, it's going to need, security updates. It's going to need software updates. I was a little freaked out and kind of impressed that it can take itself and charge itself.
Yeah. Well, that's not new technology. That's
the Roomba can do that.
The Roomba can do that.
Okay,
yeah.
I was like, I think the Roomba can do that, but the Roomba doesn't look like a person, so it's a little less intimidating when the Roomba does it.
And right now we're just on like electronic AI. What happens if we go into organic AI, which is different, which is they take a stem cell and tweak it to where it becomes like almost like brain material, and that's supposed to be even more efficient so it can learn faster.
Yeah, but then at what point we're doing that and it's actual human cells, right? So then at what point do we cross that bicentennial man threshold, right? When does the machine stop being a machine and a tool?
Yeah.
when does it go from being a Roomba, from being, a robot like we see in like in Toyota or whatever. I can't think of what the name of those things are, those lines or whatever, worker lines. One of those types, right? Something that's a
Assembly
tool.
line, like
assembly
assembly
line.
line.
Yeah. When does it go from something that's a tool to something that is its own form of sentient being, right? Where do we draw that line?
And we've been asking that question for a long time, ever since like Philip K. Dick put out Blade Runner, or do androids dream of electric sheep?
And it's a question you have to ask yourself, right?
Yeah.
Is at what extent, like,
or Asimov with iRobot, because iRobot Asimov is a completely different story.
Oh, and Asimov had some serious ideas about what we were going to do with robots and how we were going to treat them and how they were going to treat us. And yeah. So like you said, it's something decades ago that we've been thinking about.
Because here's the thing, and I think in the original story of iRobot, or whatever the book is called for that, I think it's called something different.
Yeah.
At the end of that book, there's a law that the robot has to be able to help humans at any cost, but it also can't destroy itself. So it's there trying to help someone and trying not to destroy itself at the same time. So it's going back and forth, and it can't do its job. So,
right, and that's another conundrum that we come to. It's like that. It's not a riddle, but it's like that. I don't know what you call it. It's where it's like, okay, the train is barreling down the track and it's going to hit, the old man or the little kid. Like, one of them's going to die regardless. Like, who do you die? Who do you kill, right? And so those are types of things that we worry about having a machine have to decide. Mm-hmm. But even having a living person decide that is difficult for a living, breathing human being. So there are going to be some parameters because of the way our minds are already based, and the beliefs and the feelings that we have that we're going to give to the robots. We can't help but to do that. So there could potentially be situations where the robot's not going to know what to do.
Yeah.
But I think that
or it wouldn't make the same decision as we would, because I think like in the movie iRobot, it rescued somebody rather than a child, because a child was more likely not to survive that.
Right.
So it chose the person more likely to survive that.
Yeah. And again, it, like you said, it could in real time understand all kinds of options that we wouldn't be able to fathom or understand until much later. Mm. And so, like you said, it may make a decision that we wouldn't necessarily agree with, but may ultimately be the best decision in there.
Right.
I think with Tesla's moving forward with this, which I think is great, because I love the invention that we as humans have. And
that's one of the things that, with us having Tesla here, we're at the forefront of AI with robotics. Mm-hmm. More than China, more than Japan, anything like that. It looks like they were supposed to be, but they're not, because they don't understand the AI as we do. For the longest time, we were at the forefront of technology, and we stopped being that.
It very much looked like China and Japan were going to have functioning, viable, home access type robots way before we were.
Yeah.
Like way before we were. So it's interesting to see Tesla moving this quickly. And I think, the Cybertruck kind of ruined some of our confidence in Tesla. I think people see all the SpaceX launches and they see all the misses, and that makes them lose confidence in Tesla when they have no
But
fathoming
then you see
of...
some of the things that they've done recently, like catch a rocket out of the air.
Yeah. Well, and they have no fathoming of what all NASA's gone through. The multiple trials and tests and stuff. So again, like Elon Musk has the money to move this research and development forward
But
so
he also has
quickly.
AI to be able to learn that without, it doesn't need people to do that. The AI can work on it 24/7
Yeah.
and not be tired.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the, that's an assignment that I actually did recently with my freshmen, and I think I'm going to do it with my older kids here soon too. So in my class, they have to do things creatively, right? They have to use their creative minds. And so I had asked them to create a skit about, we're learning this book called Toy Box Leadership, where toys from your childhood teach you leadership skills, right? And they're on the Slinky Dog chapter. So I'm like, write this skit to show your understanding. And then I thought, I wonder what happens if I chat GPT this skit. And it's a book that, like, it can access on the internet. So I don't have to feed it the book. I just ask it, write a skit about this chapter in this book showing this. Just like that. Like 30 seconds, maybe?
Yeah.
If that much. And something that the kids have taken 3 days to do. We're at 5 days now for the kids to do it, because I made them do props and stuff, which I also put in the AI generator. What kind of props could I create in a classroom setting for the skit that you just wrote for me?
Right.
Take the skit, and I want each character to have a minimum of 4 lines per scene. Rewrite it. Done. So I copied it for the kids, because they don't know yet, right? We haven't trained them, and we've made them feel like this is a scary, bad thing, right? And so I'm having them answer questions tomorrow. They haven't seen it yet. They're going to see it Monday. But to show them, like, you could have chat GPT'd this. But one of the questions I'm asking is, if you use this AI, if everybody in the classroom uses the AI, what's potentially going to happen? In a classroom setting, if you're using it, you may get the exact same answer, right? So everybody gets the same skit. Well, then I'm going to notice if everybody has the same skit.
I don't think you'll get the same thing.
You don't think so? So what makes you think that they won't?
Because if you keep using it, then it kind of learns how you do things or how you want things to be. So it'll be tailored more to the way you want it to be. Just because it's learning everything about you with every single prompt that you're typing in, it'll understand what you want.
So maybe that's an interesting thought and an interesting experiment that maybe I can do. Is
test it on mine and then see if you got something different than what you got.
Or let all the kids sit there and all of them type up, not a prompt that I feed them, obviously, because I feel like if I feed them the exact same prompt and they put it in there.
Even if you put the exact same prompt, it could be different.
Really? That I did not know.
Yeah.
I thought it was fairly, because it's that hive mind-esque type thing, I thought it was going to be fairly close, or at least exact. That's an experiment that I'd like to do. So see, just from this conversation that we just kind of spitballed, this was not planned, but I've been thinking about things. It's amazing how little we know about it, like individually. And I think even people that want to use it, I think don't know enough about it yet. So I think that we've got a ways to go.
Yeah.
Right. I would say we've got a ways to go as far as understanding it, using it properly, using it as the tool it's supposed to be, and eventually regulating it, I think.
Everybody that's using it in that respect for robotics and AI, everything increases exponentially. because it's all there. All that information is all there all at once. So
Well, yeah,
it doesn't
can,
take long.
and that's why it can, rebuild its own body and stuff like that. With making it lighter and with the carbon fiber, and it can do things, and we can feed it schematics of human skeletons and animal skeletons and things of that nature, to where we get it to a point. But then again, we have to ask ourselves, when does it become is self-aware?
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept.
It's artificial intelligence, so therefore I think, therefore I am.
Yikes.
It makes you wonder. But yeah, no, this is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I don't know. I'm almost to the point where I want to get one. I don't know if I want to get this one, but eventually I'd want to get one just to have around the house, and that would be kind of cool for people that work from home and don't go anywhere.
Well, I thought we were wrapping up the show, because I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why I don't want it is because it's named after my boyfriend, and they have no right to name it Optimus.
Oh, Optimus Prime.
But we're not going to talk about that, because then we'll have an hour-and-a-half long show.
Yeah.
So wrap it up,
But
buddy.
thanks for checking us out. I really appreciate it. If you haven't clicked on the subscribe button, click on the subscribe button and click on the notification bell, so the next time we go live, But thanks for checking us out. I'm Vince.
And I'm Colleen.
Geek out, SA.